need a new chair. Ralph said he wasn't going to dance. That's good enough. He's dancing. Ralph's dancing.
Trying to squeak my chair louder than yours.
It looks like you're dancing. That's okay. Welcome, everybody, to Geek the F Out. I am Lucha Johnny.
And I'm Kayla, but I can't hear anything. So loud.
It shouldn't be any louder than it normally is when we do this.
You always turn it down only a little bit, and like the music's still louder than your voice.
Weird.
When you turn it down. FYI. You probably can't hear it because you're the one talking.
Yeah. I can
But
hear myself
anyways,
in my headphones a little bit.
Welcome. We are joined by the one, the only, Ralph. Welcome to the show.
Yes,
for having
not,
that.
Hard out. Yeah. We have to go back. You have to come back.
We could not do Lost without Ralph.
No.
It would be against the laws of nature.
I think I told
Physics.
you that if you were to watch Lost, I would join you.
Yes.
I think I'm now like required to join you.
Yes, you are, and you're gonna be here for every season review.
Pending any last minute scheduling things for the movie.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, you wanna
All
tell
works
the
out.
people what really cool Lost related shit you're doing?
Yeah, I'm currently producing and have been producing for the last 2 years and 8 months a feature-length documentary about the show Lost for its 20th anniversary, along with Taylor Morden, who's the director, who also directed movies like The Last Blockbuster, Unstuffed, the story of Build-A-Bear Workshop, and Pick It Up, Ska in the 90s, and a few other things. But yeah, we're producing a documentary about Lost, and we're about, I don't know, 78 interviews deep, and we still
Casual.
have at least one that we're currently scheduling that I can't talk about because I don't want to jinx it.
Okay.
All fingers and
Yeah.
toes crossed.
And if you want to see who those 78 people are, you can follow them at Getting Lost Doc on all of social media. And, they have a whole website. Are you guys still taking donations at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we're going to be ending soon in the next month or so. At our Indiegogo page, which is at gettinglostdoc.com. And you can support us by pre-ordering a Blu-ray or a digital copy. We also have a threadless shop where we have a few t-shirt designs up, and you can check those out too. Check the link tree where you can find that. It's linktree/gettinglostdoc. Getting Lost Doc across the board.
Yeah.
You'll find us. And if you want to see who's in it, you can go to IMDb, or I'm there, or you can go to our Blue Sky where I only do announcements.
Very cool. Very cool. I'm very excited. I'm going to the premiere and I cannot wait. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have been a lifelong fan since I started watching it when I was like 11.
0?
I think.
So not like
0. As long as it's been on TV, 2/3 of my life, essentially, at this point.
Yeah.
Literally 2/3 of my life. It's 20 years. That's crazy tits.
And
Anyways.
Johnny's been watching it all this year.
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, so if you haven't been watching our series before, the whole concept of our watch rewatch series is that one of us has seen it, one of us hasn't. So in this case, obviously, I've seen it, and so Johnny is new to it. We have popped his Lost cherry,
We've done
yeah.
more things that I haven't seen now than you have, because we started with Star Trek, which you had not seen.
Mm-hmm.
But now we've done both Stranger Things and Lost, which I have not seen.
Well,
So
we
it's
did
2-1.
Masters, you had seen.
That's true. I guess we're even then. Technically, Masters was easy though. That was like
Yeah, because
8
Strange
episodes
New Worlds
to
was
catch up to
both
season 1.
new. Fall of the House of Usher was both new.
Yeah.
Ahsoka was new. Yeah. Anyways, so this is going to be our season 1 review, and our other 2 episodes that we've done, we like broke down the episodes and talked about each of them. Not super in depth, but more in depth. And so we wanted to reserve this show to talk about the season as a whole, talk about the characters, the themes, like the big things that happened, and then, you know, do some predictions on what's going to happen going forward for Johnny, since Ralph and I already know at least most of the stuff. There's some stuff no one knows. So yeah, let's
there's stuff working on the movie. There's stuff that I know that nobody knows, and that's a lot of fun.
Oh, I'm sure.
Johnny,
sure.
Yeah. Wait till you see the documentary. There's going to be some stuff in there.
It's going to be interesting, and I have some thoughts that we can talk about that as someone watching it now, binging it versus when it was airing.
Yeah.
So like the climax of the cliffhanger of season 1 with John and Jack looking down the hatch.
Yeah. Which is what I did my makeup off of, like a year.
It was probably like 6 months.
Oh no!
We got
yeah,
to
like
the next
6 months.
episode.
That's right.
Yeah. Binging's easy.
Yeah.
You have it easy.
Yeah.
You got it easy, but I will say the community that surrounds it was a lot of fun, even as a prepubescent child.
And that's one of the things with streaming today in general, the weekly releases versus dropping everything at once, like the debate about that, like we're seeing that kind of like right now with the Acolyte. Like this week's episode of the Acolyte was kind of
I haven't watched it yet.
Shh.
So Kayla, spoiler. Stevie believes it's the sexiest Star Wars ever.
Yoko was like, "Oh, you're gonna like a scene in this episode." I'm like, I can't wait. I'm gonna watch it after this, so I'm excited.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and like Hot D too. Like everyone gets to theorize in between weeks. It's fun. It's not the same internet because unfortunately there's a lot of shitty internet people that are like really loud now and a lot of bots. So it's not quite the same, but similar.
If they pulled a lost cliffhanger now, at the end of the season of Acolyte, like if they pulled some shit like that, like people would
lose their goddamn minds.
People were mad at episode 2 of Acolyte when they still have like 6 more episodes of story. Like they're so mad about things, and it's like, okay, yes, Kiadamundi's there, but nobody's told him that there's a Sith around. We don't even know if it's a Sith. And where we left last week, there's like only like 3 people that know, and they haven't told the Jedi. So it's one of those things where it's like, this is how TV used to work. Relax, enjoy the show, get excited that there's another one coming, and then just wait until they tell you the story before you fly off the handle.
I know.
I don't think
to jump to conclusions.
I don't think a cliffhanger like this would be able to happen today. People would freaking go crazy. We went crazy back then.
There's been a couple of things that have had it, but I don't know to the scale that Lost was.
Well, I mean, Twitter wasn't around after season 1 of Lost, so that's where we are, like time-wise. I think Facebook was there. No, not Facebook. No, MySpace. MySpace was there. So we're talking MySpace era. You really have to like try hard to find assholes talking about Lost.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Whereas now it's like
Reddit was not as popular either, and there wasn't YouTube channels breaking down everything and Easter eggs like that.
Yeah.
Right. YouTube wasn't around yet.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's freaky to think about.
Yeah.
Dang. Anyways, let's get into season 1. We're going to start with talking about the characters and their journeys so far. We'll get Johnny's thoughts first on all of them. Johnny, who do we want to start with?
We'll start with Jack. I have Jack first.
Okay.
He's all right.
As he should be.
I have, like, literally, like, Jack, fine dude. Very Tanis half-elven. So, like, if you know what Dragonlance is, everybody who knows is like, oh, yeah, I can see it. Tanis and Dragonlance was very much, I don't want to be a hero. I don't want to be a leader. I don't want to be in charge.
Mm-hmm. Also very Aragorn in the movies, not in the books.
You don't let anybody do anything. I was watching some footage from the documentary today, and Hector Navarro, who was a great interview, mentions how in the very first pilot episode, Kate recognizes Charlie from somewhere, and Charlie's like, "Oh, you recognize me, right? Yeah, Drive Shaft." And he says he sings "You All Everybody," and Jack is just like, "No," and just keeps walking like, I don't care about this. And so it's like Jack is just like, he's such a stick in the mud. Like from the beginning, from the very first episode, he's like, he doesn't want to be the leader, but at the same time, he doesn't want to stop and see, like, he just wants to keep moving forward. And it's like,
yeah, I think he's definitely the type that, like, he has his mind on something and he's set on that and he's not going to get distracted by anything. Like, that's the vibe that I always got from him, especially in the first season. I mean, I guess all the seasons, but you know, as I think maybe more especially in the first season, only because he is struggling more with, like, being the leader and, like, I don't know, I feel like that's like such a hard position to be in. But we talked about it briefly before with how it's cool to see someone who a lot of people regard, like doctors who we regard, well, not everyone, but, and I think it's not so much anymore, but for a long time, people regarded doctors as, like, these, like, infallible kind of people that, you know, you do see them as leaders because they know so much and they're so smart and they, like, you know, save people's lives and they hold people's lives in their hands. And I think we really see the humanity behind them because, you know, I think sometimes we get to a place with doctors or people in the medical profession that they're just like robots. And that's not the case. Like, they're humans. And, you know, especially I grew up, like, always taking care of family members in hospitals, nursing homes, acute care facilities, assisted living homes, etc. And, you know, I saw firsthand just, you know, how fallible they are, unfortunately. But yeah, like, we're human at the end of the day. So I think rewatching it this time, I really saw, you know, how much they were leaning into that, like showing that with Jack and, like, showing, like, you know, his character is very complex in his relationship with his dad and, you know, fighting with himself essentially to be the leader or not. You know, and all the crazy hallucinations he has of his dad as well. But yeah, he's an interesting one, but, you know, he was always my favorite when I was little watching this little.
It's funny you mentioned about infallible doctors, because immediately I thought about, like, House. And House started the same year that Lost did. They were both 2004.
I loved House.
But the thing we talked about this a little bit during one of the previous 2 streams. The thing with Jack is he did it to himself. Like, he took charge. When the plane crashed, he's, like, telling people how to, like, where to go, where to put things, what to do. And then, like, he kept putting out fires. If he didn't want to be in charge, he shouldn't have taken charge.
I mean, but, like, he knows those things. Like, what's the chances that there's another, like, surgeon on board, and like he knows what to do, he knows how to treat these people, and like all these people are injured, so like obviously he's going to need to help people. It's not like he's like, not going to help people. So it's hard to say that he was really, it's hard to say he was really like taking charge. I would say like taking charge what like kind of everyone did it. Like Saeed did it, like Kate did it, Locke did it. I think people just saw him like helping so many people and, you know, making decisions that they're like, oh, you should do it. I think he was just like, he's just, at least for the first season, he's still operating like he did before the island, which is a lot of people first season. And he's like in game mode. He's like in doctor mode. He's like going, like, we need to do this. We need to, like, he's, you know, in the operating room, like he's in charge of everyone. So he's already kind of a leader. And I think because he's only kind of a leader in those situations, that he doesn't see himself as a leader outside of like the operating room. So I think that's what he like naturally reverted to on the island, was like, okay, you like, we need to do this, we need to do that, just because like that's second nature for him, like that's his job. You know, I don't think he was thinking of it in like a greater context outside of it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. He also has a 100% valid point in the finale. He says, everyone wants me to be a leader until I make a decision they don't like. Like, and that is 100% true. So he's
true.
kind of throughout this season, throughout this season, been in a sort of damned if he does, damned if he doesn't situation.
Totally. I don't know. What was your thoughts on first season Jack, Ralph?
He was fine. We'll get into later season Jacks. But right now he's somewhat stable. He does seem to be focused, even though he does have what appears to be visions. I don't know if we can fully say if it's a vision or if it's something that he's actually seeing. The island is a very strange place, and we will see other people have different visions or see things that are coincidentally look similar to things in their past. So who's to say? He is such a man of science that I feel like he's almost getting sort of a test of faith with the island. Like I believe he even says it, like, I saw my dad, but I know I shouldn't be able to, or something like that. Something to the effect where he doesn't believe his eyes.
Yeah.
And he's for sure thinking he's not going crazy, which he might not be. But
like, he doesn't find the body in the coffin. Like, it's empty. So if I were him, I'd be like, what in the fuck? Like, I would feel justified and validated in seeing his dad because he's not in the coffin. Where else the fuck would he be?
Right. So yeah, it's right now he's under stress. He's under stress. Is this a season where he's like got no sleep and and Kate's like gives him drugs him
she
gets some sleep because he
Yeah.
doesn't want to be the leader, but he wants to make sure things are fixed. I think Jack is served better, like, you know, in the pilot episode when we first meet him, he's running around putting out fires and, you know, telling other people like, hey, I need this, or just boom, get out of the way, or whatever he needs to do. It's all based on adrenaline. Yeah, go get a pen. I feel like he is not a leader. He doesn't want to be a leader. I get that, but he's got this stupid thing in his brain where he can't let something go broken. He has to fix it. It has to be fixed.
And that's a big thing in this season too. And we'll see it.
And he's so closed off from everybody else. I'm sure these people are willing to help him, but he's so closed off from everybody. The only person that he really relies on in the pilot is Kate. Is he? Is that a thing?
I don't know. Well, I'm a Capricorn, so I get it. I don't want to take help from people either.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah, it's the fixing people is definitely a big theme for him throughout the series, but especially in the first season. And we see him struggle with not being able to fix things or fix people, like with the Marshal and then with Boone, and
All right.
yeah, R.I.P. Boone. Not R.I.P. Marshall. Fuck him. And it's, him coming to terms that he does need to let go. He can't fix everything. Like, he's just human. And I think he's really trying to fight that this season. And I think after this season, he definitely gets better at getting okay with just letting things go. Like, he can't fix everything.
Gets pretty aggro though.
Yeah, he does. He does. Yeah, definitely has some anger issues. Any other thoughts, Johnny, before we move on to the next character?
Nope.
All right, who's next?
Kate.
Okay. What do you think about her?
Fuck Kate. I have absolutely no sympathy for Kate. I'm going to. I don't know if you were able.
Is
to
this
watch.
just after the first season? Because I've known you.
Yes.
I know you've seen the first 4.
This is what I wrote after the first season. At the end of the first season, I have I wrote, I have no sympathy for Kate. Fuck.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
I will read again. Episode 22, I wrote this out and I read it on our last stream, but I'm going to read it again. Go fuck
ahead.
yourself, Kate. You are not a saint. Yes, you could poison Michael if it wasn't going to kill him. You apparently know how to track and sail somehow. It's reasonable that you know what to use to make someone sick, but not kill him. Turned out it was Sun, but it's reasonable to assume that it was Kate. Because she just knows how to track out of nowhere with no explanation of how she has that knowledge. She also knows how to sail, apparently, with no explanation of how she has that knowledge.
Well, we might
but she
get an
got-
explanation in future flashbacks.
Maybe, but fuck Kate.
Damn. How dare you talk about my wife like that?
She is 100%.
Keep my
awful.
wife's name out of your goddamn mouth.
She is 100% awful.
I could tell you
But
that
she's
Evangeline
hot.
Lilly is very nice. She's a
She-
very, very sweet
She's a
person.
nice lady.
I'll tell you,
Yeah.
I'm glad that my first exposure to her was not through this show, because I feel like it would be a similar.
Is it Real Steel?
Kobe's- honestly, I think it was Ant-Man.
Oh,
Damn.
Because I know it would be a Kobe Smulders situation. I can't stand
yeah.
her because I hate Robin from How I Met Your Mother. And every time I see her show up on my screen,
Man, first
I
impressions.
just go, fuck Robin. I hate Robin.
did
She's
you
probably-
didn't
That's
see
how you
the?
really feel.
She's probably a
Have you
lovely
not seen The
person.
Hobbit? Have you not seen the Hobbit movies?
Yes, I have seen the Hobbit movies.
Okay, but you
Yep.
saw those after Ant-Man?
Were they after? Were they? When did they
Yeah, they're
come?
before Ant-Man.
When did the first
Well,
Ant-Man
around the same
come out?
time.
Well,
Then that's- I saw her in one of those two, whichever came out first. It was either The
Ant-Man.
Hobbit or.
Ant-Man was 2015, but The Hobbit was
Okay, it was 2012. So Unexpected Journey was 2012. So that would have been
yeah,
my
but
first.
she wasn't in the first one. But even so, blah, 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 blah. The next one was 2013. So that was still before Ant-Man.
Let me double check and see. Look at
Which I remember freaking out because I'm like, oh my God, this is like my other biggest favorite franchise, Lord of the Rings. And then she was in Marvel. And I was like, holy shit. Like, this just keeps happening. The only thing left she needs to do is Harry Potter.
Captain America.
But
Oh.
no, that's Marvel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know
That's
what?
the only
It
thing
might have
left.
been Real Steel. Oh no!
I've never
wow.
seen Real Steel.
LOL.
They did a big there was a big promotion when it was coming out with like Hugh Jackman was on WWE Raw promoting the movie.
Raw.
I believe he punched the Miz in the face.
Raw.
Great.
So
Directed
that
by Sean
probably
Levy.
would have been what I saw her in. I was gonna say Freddy versus Jason, but her part then is school student next to locker. So I don't think she
didn't know
really
she
made
was
an
in it.
impression in that one. It says she was uncredited.
Yeah, she was an extra.
Uncredited. Anyways, any other thoughts about her
just
besides
fuck
fuck
Kate.
her?
Just fuck
Okay.
Kate. I have
It was great. It was great talking to her. After our interview, here's a little inside scoop. She did talk about The Hobbit. She talked about Kate. Essentially, what she said was that after Lost, she quit acting,
Yeah. I remember
but
that.
she is a massive fan of the Hobbit movies, and I guess Peter Jackson was trying to get a hold of her forever. And the fun thing she
Wow.
said was, she told this to us. She said it was much easier for you guys to get a hold of me than Peter Jackson, which I found that as an insane
That's
compliment.
funny.
Like I was like, wow. She was like, yeah, it's really
Huh.
funny. She's like, you sent
I
somebody
wonder
to a comic
why.
show, and we had Joe
Huh.
go to a comic convention she was at, and Joe Garfield from Cancer Gets Lost.
Yeah.
Brought it up to her, and she said, "Oh, I think we're working to get that to happen." And so as soon as Joe sent me that text message, I sent an email to her team, who I had been in contact with for over a year, and I said, one of our producers talked to Evie over the weekend, and she seemed really interested in doing the documentary, which means they don't want to upset her, so they're going to approach her and actually ask about the movie. And she came in on board, and she's a huge proponent of the documentary. She's a big
Aw.
fan of what we're doing.
That's awesome.
That's
She's
awesome.
sweet. She's a sweet person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I know there's some things on social media and stuff, and but I feel like I kind of understand her more after meeting her, and her sort of worldview.
It's
It
hard
kinda
when
meets-
it's hard when you get glimpses of people on social media, especially because people can pick and choose what they post, and I feel like meeting people and talking to them in person, you get like a more fuller picture of
Yeah,
them.
I definitely have a different view of her now than I did
Okay.
before, and I feel like anytime she posts now, I fully understand. Like I understand her a lot more. She's a really cool person. She's really cool.
Yeah.
She told us that she wanted us to be at Michael's concert. Michael Giacchino, who did all the music for Lost, did a concert
Yeah.
for 20th anniversary a couple months ago. She's like, you guys should come and shoot it, and you guys should talk to Michael. And as soon as she showed up, we were there with cameras. She came over and gave me a big hug and asked me how I was doing. And she's a really sweet person. So I can't. I mean, I understand where Johnny's coming from as far as your character, and I would almost say that maybe Johnny might have some similar views as her about the character Kate.
I mean, yeah.
I mean,
Interesting.
She's
not really.
just like everyone, she's complex. I think in the first season, they can't, we've talked about this before, they can't quite find a place to put her because she seems to have some contradicting personality traits. Which I mean, yeah, like everyone's different. You can have like two things can be true at the same time, but at the same, I don't know. On the same note, it's hard because like you see her act one way in this situation and then another one in another situation. You're like, how is this the same person? I don't know. I think obviously she's been through a lot in her life before the island, and like this is just the like tip of the iceberg. We still don't know exactly what Kate did. That will be the title of the episode in season 2. And even then, there's still a lot of other things that happened. And, I think her character gets more fully formed as the series goes on. I think in season 1, they're definitely trying to find her spot because she is a little all over the place, which is interesting because I never really noticed it before. before when I've rewatched it until this rewatch. Don't know why, but yeah, I think, yeah, she definitely has some work to do. I think she's similar to Jack, where she's still kind of acting like she did before the island and just like in literal survival mode and like still kind of on the run in a sense. So it's an adjustment period for her, just like everyone else. I know. Did you have any other thoughts, Ralph?
No, I'm fine with Kate.
Okay.
Maybe down the road, maybe not so much, but season 1, I think I'm fine.
On to the next, Johnny.
Sawyer. He's a douchebag. I understand,
Yes.
like, and much like
But he's a funny douchebag.
He kind of is, but he's still a douchebag, unnecessarily so. I get it. Go ahead.
You're right on the cusp. You're heading into season 5, which is where I like fully fell in love with Sawyer. His storyline, I don't think is going to go the way you think it's going to go.
Okay.
And it ends up being one of my favorite aspects of the final 2 seasons is Sawyer.
Yeah, me too.
Interesting.
Me too. Yeah, I feel like he grows a lot throughout the series. That's what they said. But yeah, the first season in particular, he's a grade A asshole, racist jokes right and left. But you do see towards the end of the first season that he does have redeeming moments, like with Jack and telling him like what his dad said, because the first time
he's amazing.
So good, because the first time he realizes it, he doesn't tell Jack, and then he does before they leave on the raft. And yeah, that scene is just like, oh, it hits home, especially because like it's kind of crazy, the circumstances of like, this happens to be this person who ran into your dad, who happened to say the perfect thing to him that his son needed to hear, which of course it's, all for the show. But yeah, and just, him telling Jack right before they go off on the raft, and like, yeah, like it's a great.
It might be my favorite scene of season 1.
Yeah.
That
It's a good scene.
Why the Sox will never win the World Series. Like that whole thing, it's so good. It's one of those things where, as a child of divorce, as someone who has pretty much turned his back on his father, like it's a scene that hits hard because, like, I don't want to talk to my dad ever again. But hearing news from somebody else who says something positive about me concerning my dad, I think would give me the same reaction. It's such a thing that
heavy.
You wouldn't see in a TV show normally. They might get into stuff like that now, but it's like it's a really it's such a good scene. And the fact that Sawyer does know before and doesn't say anything, but then decides like, you know what, he should know, because Sawyer also in that moment is like, he thinks he's going possibly off to like a certain death. He could be rafting off to his death. He doesn't know it, and he would feel regret if he didn't say this one thing that could help this one person. And it's such a small thing, but it might be my favorite scene of season 1. I think so.
It's a great scene, and yeah, it's a small moment in the grand scheme of things, but it's still, it's small yet big at the same time. Like it's heavy, and it shows that he is starting to change, and may have taken him a little longer, but it's there, it's happening. But yeah, but like we said before, two things can, what the fuck is the phrase? Exist
true.
at once, be true at the same time. So he's still an asshole.
Yes.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on Sawyer, Johnny?
Yeah, I think that I understand why he is kind of what he is. I think, and I there may be some of my future knowledge from the other seasons bleeding into this. I don't remember, but I think we know enough about him in this season. I think it's like a defense mechanism.
Totally.
We do find out this season about, like, you know, what he's after, the stuff with his mom and all that. So I think it's trust issues and a defense mechanism, which is an explanation, but not an excuse. He's still a douchebag. He is an asshole.
Almost didn't hit the mic in time.
But yeah, so I think that explains it, but that doesn't excuse it.
When are you going to start season 5? Like when
Probably
you get to that
soon, because
it's my
I need
favorite.
to get through that.
I've said it before.
We stream about
My
it,
favorite
yeah.
season. It is easily my favorite season. Some people hate it. A lot of people hate it. The internet hates it. Hates
It'll be
the
interesting
season
to
5 and 6. Season 5, I absolutely love season 5.
It'll be interesting to
jam.
see what I think about it, because I'm like that with a lot of things. The stuff that the masses do not like the fan base at large doesn't like, I tend to like Star Trek Nemesis, the last Next Generation movie. The fan base at large hates that movie. I enjoy it. Like,
So Tom Hardy.
I like it.
I forgot about
I think
that.
it's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah. But that's all I have for Sawyer.
Okay.
Next,
That's
I
fine.
have Saeed.
Saeed. That's how my
I've
dad
not
would
talked to
always say
him.
his name. No.
We're trying to get a hold of Naveen Andrews. It's really tough, some of these things. But I like Saeed as a character. I feel like maybe in the later seasons he's not utilized that greatly.
Yeah.
He's
Great.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a lot going on this season, aside from being another competent hand, like as far as like survival and gunplay and things like that. Because my only note is, so far he seems like he's a good dude. Like he's definitely handy to have around. His
He's technically savvy.
Yeah, his relationship with Shannon is actually unexpectedly really cute. Like,
It's really
you would not
cute.
think to put those two together, but they work for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't know how. It's funny because when Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, for me, like when it came to Lost, I could give a shit about any of the relationships. I didn't care who Kate would end up with. I didn't care any of this stuff. I didn't care about Saeed and shit. I didn't care about shit until season 5. There is a relationship that comes around that changed all that for me, and it's my favorite relationship in the series. And it's one of those things where I'm just like, okay, this is okay. I'm fine with this. So for me, like the whole Shannon and Saeed thing never really clicked.
Yeah.
I was so focused on Nadia. I was like,
I would be interested if you rewatched it again, Ralph, like today, because I never really cared about them either. And I don't know, something, I think also, I don't know, something just lens of being older maybe, but like, yeah, they're pretty freaking cute, and I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely two people that you would not expect, and I love that Lost did that, and I think that was very important that they did that, and I think they did a great job with Saeed's character, and we've talked about this before, especially post all the racism of 9/11, and, you know, showing how good of a human he was, and you know, their relationship is really cute. And I did not give a fuck about it before. It actually, kind of same as you, like, actually didn't care about who was gonna end up with who, because I'm not really a romantic like that anyways. But watching it this time, I'm like, oh, like, I love this. And I just like love those light moments, and I think it really balances out the show, especially the second half of the season. Because like shit like this would happen if there's this many people stuck on an island. There's gonna be relationships that happen, like that, it's inevitable. And
Is that season 5 relationship the best one?
probably
It's so
I
good.
don't know.
It's my favorite.
Like, I'm also like noticing more about like Sun and Jin, and clearly at the end of the season, like they're still not in the best spot as Jin is
But they're
literally on the
better.
raft.
Yeah,
Huh?
but they're better. You can tell that as soon as the raft leaves, they already miss each other.
Yeah. Yeah, and they have that goodbye that they have with each other, and Sun gives Jin the whole notebook of English words, which is very sweet. And yeah, they have their little goodbye. So things are definitely like starting to get there, and like I do like the progression of their relationship throughout the rest of the show. I don't know. We'll have to see when I rewatch it, because yeah, it's been a while since I've rewatched the last couple seasons. I've definitely watched the first few seasons more than the last.
Yeah, that's how that
I get
works.
distracted. Yep.
Because you would rewatch the first season before season 2 started, rewatch season 1 and 2 before season 3 started, and you just kind of do that every season, is do a full Lost rewatch.
Yeah.
So
And
the
since
last
then,
season's
like,
probably the
I'll
one I've seen the
start-
least.
Yeah, and since then I'll start rewatches and then get distracted by things. So
Yeah,
it just happens. But yeah. Anything else about Saeed, Johnny? As you're the newbie.
No, that's about all that I have for him for season 1.
Okay. Who's next? Oh, hold
I'm
please.
gonna guess. I'm gonna guess
Pause.
John Locke. What's your guess?
I don't know actually. Go ahead.
Charlie.
That was gonna be my other guess. I don't like to be wrong.
So let me start this off real quick. Kayla, you're a massive Lord of the Rings fan.
Yes.
Is
Who did I see
is the-
first?
Is that the reason why you watch Lost? Is because
No.
Oh,
I watched Lost first before I watched Lord of the Rings, because we actually had the Two Towers on DVD that we won from a White Elephant exchange, and my
Very
parents
good.
being my parents and not liking sci-fi or fantasy,
it's
never
not a
watched
white
it.
elephant. A white,
Oliphant.
yeah.
Yeah, White Oliphant party. That's good. I'll do that. From
Only
now
Lord of the
on.
Rings stuff. You can
Yeah,
only
yeah,
give Lord
yeah.
of the Rings stuff. That would
Oh
be
my god,
great.
oh my god, I love that.
Do it.
Next like birthday party.
Or you could do it. I do this thing almost every year, which I call Ring in the New Year, where I get up early on New Year's Day, and I pop in a Fellowship of the Ring extended version, and spend all of New Year's Day watching all the Lord of the Rings. So I call it Ring in the New Year. Sometimes I'll do a little split screen with the Rose Parade, because that's a local parade here in Southern California that we enjoy. But maybe when you ring in the New Year, you can do a white Ola font
Love it.
gift exchange.
Love it. Perfect. Put it on the calendar. Yeah.
So you got Two Towers.
So I
the
got
White
Two
Elephant.
Towers, and I think I like watched it maybe like once or twice, which every time I did, my parents are like, ugh, why are you watching that? They're so scary, and creatures, especially with the Battle of Helm's Deep and all the orcs and Uruk-hai. And, you know, there's a lot of Smeagol in it too. And Smeagol / Gollum. And so, I don't know. And like, I think for me, like, I liked it, but I think without having the first movie, you know, it's just like if you read a book in the middle of the book, like you're missing a lot of shit.
Were you amped up that Charlie was in Lord of the Rings?
Kind of. Like, I think at that point I was just like, oh, like, okay, like this makes sense, like how he got into Lost, because like he was in Lord of the Rings, and I think I already knew that while watching Lost. I can't remember. This is a long time ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't actually. I think it was like 7th or 8th grade. We were at a Christmas party, and it was like all adults, and I was the only kid there because, you know, of course, being an only child, I just get dragged along to places. And they're like, oh, you can go watch a movie upstairs. You don't have to hang out with all the adults. I'm like, oh, thank God. And so I go upstairs and I picked out Fellowship of the Ring. I was like, oh, I can finally watch it because I had been wanting to, but like just hadn't gotten around to it. And from there, it was over for me. And this is back in the day of Blockbuster, and the amount of times I had my mom renew our rental of the Return of the King, which was 4 VHS tapes, because extended version. Yeah, she probably got sick of it because it was like weeks and weeks on end that like I just kept rewatching it again. Because the third movie I think I like the best. Just saying. Anyways, that's my story.
Johnny, what do you think of Charlie?
I liked Charlie, and he was actually like turning things around until they found that goddamn heroin plane, and now I.
So yeah, Johnny said that he saw him like swipe it, but I don't think I saw that.
I went.
Did you go back and look?
At the end of the last episode of this season? He's sitting talking to Claire, and they pan down, and one of the Virgin Mary statues is sticking out of his bag.
That's right. Okay.
Charlie.
Okay.
That's
I mean,
why,
you never know.
That's why, like, one of my last notes was, God damn it, Charlie. Because, like, he was...
Yeah.
Also, you're on a deserted island. You're like, let the kid do heroin. Who cares? Right?
Let them eat cake.
Does it fucking matter? Does it matter? No. Unless he's going and stealing babies, which he does. But I don't think he was on heroin then. But it's one of those things where it's just like, he seemed okay. He let him live in oblivion.
Yeah.
You know, and destroy himself as long as he's not hurting anybody else. Like,
I mean, ultimately, in the grand scheme of things,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very existentialist mindset of like, he's not hurting anybody but himself, so it's fine. And really it is, but he had already gone through, like, he had basically gotten through like the initial withdrawal and like was over it. Like, yeah. But then he took that statue. So and maybe he doesn't succumb to his demons again and start using.
Yeah.
But it seems like with him having the statue in his bag that he's probably going to.
Yeah.
I mean,
and
I know
like,
Jack wants to use those drugs for like medicinal purposes and stuff, which would be a reason not to use the drugs, is because you can help other people. So I guess don't do drugs, Charlie, but at the same time, like, fucking who cares?
But do
like,
drugs.
you're living in a tent on an island that's like got some shit knocking down palm trees. Like,
and polar bears.
Like, listen, just let him go.
Do you, boo-boo? Do you?
Yeah.
Do heroin.
Honestly, as long as he's not hurting anybody, seriously, who gives a shit? I don't know. I'm a big proponent of let people be happy and let them do their life how they want to do, as long as they're not hurting or
but
interfering with other
eventually,
people's life.
Even that much heroin is going to run out. And also, with how long it's been there, it's probably gone bad. And like, in terms of Jack is going to use it for medicinal purposes, it's probably not really going to work anymore.
Yeah, so let Charlie have it. There's healing islands on the
expiration date.
yeah. Just.
And that expiration date means they don't work no more.
Why is he conforming to Locke's ideals of what he should be doing on the island?
I mean, it's really not good for your body.
Again, we've seen people die instantaneous. Just like, listen.
Arts himself.
Like, exactly. I feel like if I were stuck on a deserted island and found drugs, it would probably be the time I start doing drugs.
Yeah.
He has a fair
Fuck
point.
it.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. And they've been there a month,
Yeah.
so it's like, what else are you gonna do?
They're not. The plane was however many miles off course. They're not flying.
1,000.
Yeah. So. Ooh,
Now you start
is it
barking.
Vincent?
For Vincent.
Is Vincent your next character? Is Vincent?
No, Vincent, I saved the best for last. Vincent's the last one. The next one, I don't really have anything else to say about Charlie. I think we'll see.
Yeah, I think like Locke has said, like, you know, the island tests you in many ways, and obviously this is another test for him. Because yeah, heroin is a strong drug, and you know, maybe he does just want to fuck it and go with the flow, like Ralph said. Who knows?
I don't see the harm in it. I really don't. Remember during in the pilot during the plane crash, that big old hunk of metal falls right behind him, and he's like kind of
he kind of doesn't
like
care.
Yeah,
I would love to not care.
Yeah, that's a great way to live life, is not caring about
Not
the airplane
wrong.
that
Not
crashed around
wrong.
your body. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Who's next, Johnny?
Go for it, Charlie.
Yeah. I don't know that there's any rhyme or reason to the way I listed these, but the next one is indeed John Locke.
Okay.
Ooh, thoughts on
He's
John
a
Locke?
complex boy.
He is a complicated person. He's a very interesting, very intriguing dude.
He's Michael Scott because he works at a box company, like a paper company
Yeah.
that Hurley owns.
Yes, that Hurley now owns because of his lottery winnings. It's
And he hired Randy.
yeah. I want to go back through because I wanted to see.
Randy was a piece of shit.
Randy is the biggest
Well-
piece of shit on Lost.
Him and Brian. Brian can go suck a dick.
Kimi. I don't know if Kimi's been around yet on season.
I don't know. I can't.
John Locke is great.
Yeah,
I just don't believe in his ideals of faith.
It's interesting because like he dreamed about the plane and then they found it. So is he prescient, or is he right about like?
I think that's something the island just did. I don't think it means he has any kind of powers. At least that's how I always interpreted it.
I have theories. I
He
believe.
He made a fucking trebuchet.
Yeah.
Didn't
Out
work.
of nowhere. Yeah, it didn't work.
He's
The thing about the plane though
He's a
is like
scary
we've
dude.
seen the island use like Jack's dad to guide Jack to the caves.
The caves.
So who knows if the island is showing Locke like, hey, fuck, get over to this plane, follow this, go to this plane. Like he had a dream about it, but I mean, there's a certain thing that happens in later season where there's some sort of mystical entity on the island that scans people's brains and could probably, maybe, possibly implant into people's brains as well, i.e. visions.
yeah, certainly possible. He also has the conversation with Walt early on about the backgammon, two sides, one light, one dark. I was like, is this whole thing an elaborate game or experiment?
And then the Adam and Eve have the black and white stones, and then Claire sees Locke with black and white eyes.
He fucking knows who Drive Shaft is somehow.
He's with it, okay? He's hit.
What was it? It was he made Charlie ask him a question 3 times. I'm like, what, is Locke a fucking fae? Is he part of the Seelie and Unseelie court? Like, what?
I think he definitely has a little bit of a god complex, which, like, honestly, I would as well if I was in a wheelchair and then suddenly could walk. I'd be like, yeah, I'm fucking
and
God.
there's
I'm Jesus.
There's that whole thing. Like,
Yeah.
I was like surprised when he actually told Boone about it.
Because he had
I'm
a
not
piece of
sure if-
shrapnel in his leg from the trebuchet. He had a piece of
Yeah.
shrapnel in his leg, and like Boone's like,
can feel
dude, your leg.
Which sometimes there is the shock that you don't feel things at first, but it was definitely him losing his feeling in his legs. And it's interesting because the whole vision pretty much ended up in Boone's death, which was like how the island killed Boone. And so slowly we start to see how the island is killing people at certain times that seem to be kind of planned in a sense.
Yeah. Could get
But
a
yeah,
sense
Locke's
That's
of
all
things
I'll
that will
say.
happen.
Yeah.
Locke is very interesting.
Yeah. And it's also like, especially with his God complex and like being a man of faith and Jack the man of science and having this duality of them as well, it's always been more so perpetuated by Locke than it is by Jack. Like, Locke's like, oh, yeah, you're the man of science, I'm the man of faith, blah, blah, blah. Like, don't you believe in destiny? Like, always trying to push at Jack about that, where Jack's just like, dude, I'm just trying to, like, fucking survive. Yeah, it's like, he's like, Locke is definitely, like, the philosophical, like, out there, and he's trying to, like, push it out of Jack, and Jack's like, I don't give a fuck. Like, bro, go, you do your own thing, I'll do my thing, which I mean is essentially what kind of happens going forward, but obviously they have their times that they clash as well, and they even clashed in this season too, which I kind of forgot about, or I didn't remember it happening in the first season. I felt like it happened later on more so, which I mean it does, but yeah, he's a complex one for sure. They
one
all
of those
are.
things where
Take a
he
drink every
keeps
time I
talking-
say that.
Yeah, he's always talking about faith and fate, and he's looking to the heart of the island, and what he saw was beautiful, and yeah. And for me, I'm like, I don't know, nanobots. I don't know, I'm like, I just like, I'm like, I don't want to hear that shit. I grew up 12 years of Catholic school.
Hey,
I didn't do my confirmation when I was 13 because I was like, I'm over this.
17 years over here, so.
And then I was just like, you're just held back.
No, through college.
Oh. Well, I mean, are you still
pre-K
like,
through college?
Is that something you did your confirmation? Or did you eventually like kind of give it up?
No, we had to do confirmation in 8th grade at my school.
I decided I did not want to do confirmation. I had to go to the ceremony, but I didn't participate, which was kind of nice.
We technically were given the choice, but
my Catholic school
tangent
required
time.
it. Yeah,
Catholic
for all
trauma. I think it
until
was
my
required, but I think
Ooh.
one person got out of it or something. Because I remember, I think there was someone
Johnny
who
broke the
didn't do
mold.
it.
Yeah, the year that I was supposed to be confirmed, they're like, well, if we're requiring it, we can't really call it confirmation because it's required. So they need to. And
yeah,
for me, it wasn't at the time. It wasn't like, oh, I don't want to do this. I don't know. I didn't want to go to Sunday school in addition to going to a Catholic school.
oh,
and
we
it just
didn't have
never
to do
happened.
that. We just
So
did it
for me,
during
one of those
class.
things is I took a Bible history class in high school because we had to take at least one religion class in high school, and the best one was Bible history, and it was literally about the history of the book and who wrote it and how it was written and when it was written and the information they knew when it was written. And so I always enjoyed that side of it.
I took a class like that in college. I really liked it too.
Yeah, and so it's one of those things where when I hear John Locke saying blank, blank, blank faith, blank, blank, blank destiny, and I'm like, no, hold on. That's mirrors. That's mirrors over there. That's
Thumbs up to you.
yeah. So with John Locke, it was one of those things where as soon as he started getting into that stuff, I immediately put up my defenses and like, not this guy. You're not my guy.
Yeah.
Just be quiet with this stuff. This is a science fiction
obviously,
show.
faith is very much intertwined with religion, but I think there is, you know, you can obviously have faith in a lot of other things that aren't religious. And
Yeah.
I think that's how I always viewed it, especially, yeah, growing up Catholic, but also I loved science. Like, science was my thing. And originally I did want to be a doctor. So, you know, I could kind of see myself or see like both sides of things, I guess is the best way of putting it. And, you know, it was interesting their kind of challenge of each other. And like, I think it is very reflective on humanity and how those two sides are constantly challenging each other in real life. And, you know, at the end of the day, like, humanity is gonna live on. Like, it's not so much about like who was right, who was wrong. Like, you know what I mean? You know, you can have one way of viewing life versus another, but like, we're all gonna die. You know?
Fucked.
We're all fucked. So yeah, I do appreciate John's like pushing of the like pushing people to question things essentially, because yeah, it's good to think about those things. Like, I like would probably still be like fully Catholic and practicing Catholic if I didn't challenge things, you know? And like that class I took in college, like I took a world religions class in high school, and just like being a person out in society and living life, like obviously you get challenged right and left with what you believe in. So I do appreciate, you know, that side of Locke. Same with Jack. Like, I like how Jack, like, you know, does the same thing to Locke and other people. So, yeah. Anyways, let's move on. That's a lot.
Yeah, so we go from probably one of my favorite characters in the show to my other favorite character in the show, Hurley. Hurley's my dude.
Yeah.
I love Hurley.
Hurley's the
He's great.
best.
He's like the only one that doesn't have some ideal. Like, he's just like, hey, everybody.
Yeah, he's going with the flow.
Yes.
How did I describe him before, Johnny? I'm just like, he's like the best like mediator. Like, he's the glue. He's really the glue of the show. And like, you can already start to see it in the first season, but as the show goes on, it's like more and more so. You know, and he's also, yeah, I think because he doesn't have these like strong convictions, I think that's what makes him, you know, he's very adaptable, not just for, you know, surviving on the island, but also in the grand scheme of things with dealing with all these people and all the crazy shit that happens on the island. You know, I think him learning like and growing, and because like for the most part he's pretty good at like standing up for people in the first season. There was something, oh, I think he called Jin the like Chinaman or something, and but then he corrected someone that they were Korean, but then he said something else.
The
And he
Chinaman
got
is not
corrected.
the issue here, dude.
What was it?
I don't know.
Oh, I can't remember now. But anyways, he was
Hurley's
just like,
liked
oh,
every
okay.
man.
Oh,
Hurley's
they-
liked everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Sawyer was called Jin or Sun, Chinese or Japanese, and Hurley was like, dude, we're Korean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was something that Hurley said that was incorrect, and someone corrected him, and he's like, oh, okay, move on. Whereas like Sawyer kept calling them that, you know?
Yeah.
Like Hurley's just like, oh, okay, like I'm gonna like actually unpack and learn and change and evolve, and like everyone's
Yeah.
else like still fairly resistant to that in the first season. Hurley's like, nah, I'm gonna go with it. And I obviously a lot of that is dudism. There we go. Can we guess what Johnny's favorite movie is?
Yeah.
I'm
He fixes
I
the
am
cable.
an ordained minister in the Church of the Latter-day Dude. The dude that binds.
Hurley,
Hurley's a
I
dude,
lo-
like capital D dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hurley's like the everyman. He reacts how I think the majority of us would. A lot of us
Yeah.
wouldn't
He's kind of the
react like Jack,
audience.
or he's the audience. He's pretty much like the heart of the show. I
Fuck it,
think
dude.
he
Let's go
is.
bowling.
He's my favorite. He's my favorite character.
Yeah.
He's my
It has
favorite
nothing to
character.
do with the fact that you're like besties with him in real life.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. Like, what's really weird is that like my relationship with Jorge we've been friends longer than Lost was on the air, and so I don't even think about it. So sometimes when I rewatch Lost, I'm like, oh shit, that's right. Jorge's in this. Like it doesn't like Jorge is such a different person than Hurley, and so
Yeah.
it's they're definitely two different people to me. But I mean Hurley, he's just for me, being a big old softy nerd that doesn't want to ruffle feathers. I don't want to like cause any like drama. Like I feel Hurley. I feel like
Yeah.
Hurley. Like when he first meets Saeed and he's so innocent, he's like, "Oh, I have a friend in the Air Force. Which services did you work for?" And he says, "The Republican or the Republican Guard, the Republic Guard."
The Republican Guard, yeah.
Yeah, and
He's
so
like,
it's like he's
"Oh."
like, "Oh," and he just kind of looks off into space, like, "Oh, I fucked up. I should have probably I
Yeah.
probably should have figured that out." But he's like, "It's
I
like,
relate
oh,
to
now
that
what do I
so
say?"
much.
Yeah, we've all had moments where we say something and we're like, "Oh, duh, I feel like an
Yeah.
idiot, and now I don't
And
know how to
like-
get out of the situation."
Didn't he follow
Yeah.
up too with something like, "So do you like bread?" Like,
I think he just
can't
stares off
remember.
into space.
oh, okay.
I think he stares off that one. There is another time where he does say something like that, and I think he says something along those lines after, but I think in this instance he stares off after. I could be wrong. But yeah, he's great, and he's not, obviously he's funny, but he's definitely not just comic relief. He's a lot more than that, and yeah, just love him.
Agreed.
Anything else?
Everybody loves Hurley. No, I don't have anything.
Yep.
Yeah.
Next, I have Claire. I like
Okay.
Claire. She seems to mostly be a plot device this season. Like, she's there to have the
Yeah.
baby to cause the inciting incident of disappearing and everybody going crazy and looking for her. And like,
Yeah.
she just seems like she's there to service the plot and move it forward. Hopefully that changes going forward. But like, we know that
Yeah.
she was into astrology and tarot and things like that, like the psychic and the fortune teller, which is cool. I
And the
gravitate to those kind of
psychic
people.
knew
Yeah.
what was gonna happen.
Yeah. And
She had to go on the plane.
And then
Yeah,
the pens didn't work.
yeah, when she was trying to sign the adoption papers. Yeah. But then at the end of this season, it seems like she is losing her religion, so to speak, because there was something where I called her out because I was like, "You're the one who like believed in tarot and there was
Yeah.
Oh, yes, when like it was like Sun and I think maybe Shannon and someone else, maybe it was Kate, were talking, and Claire's like, "There's no such thing as destiny."
Yeah, Son asks if they're being punished, and Claire's like, "No one's punishing
Yes.
us. There's no such thing as fate." I'm like, "Yeah,"
there we
says
go.
the girl that was into astrology and tarot and fortune tellers. So clearly, this has affected her
Yeah.
in that way that she doesn't believe in that stuff anymore.
Yeah, and she does realize that the psychic knew what was gonna happen.
I think he
crazy.
definitely knew. Yeah.
Yeah, find out more about that later. Maybe. I don't know.
So yeah, I like her, but there's aside from what we just said, there doesn't seem to
there's
be much
not-
more about her because she
Yeah,
was.
there's not too much. Like, that's the biggest thing with her flashback was like the psychic, because like, the stuff with her shitty ex is, whatever. Like, that sucks,
interview-
but
We interviewed her too, and
Aw.
she's a sweetie. She's so
Yeah, I
nice.
met
She's one of
her-
the kindest people.
I met her either in like 2016, 2017 at a con. She was mostly there for Once Upon a Time. I was like, "Oh my God, I loved you in Lost." And I got her autograph and her picture, and she was like, "Oh my God, it was the best time ever."
She's so
That's great.
sweet.
Very much a sweetheart.
One of those ray of sunshine interviews for us, for sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sweet. That's awesome.
Love that. Love that. And her and Charlie's little flirtations are cute.
I was going to bring something up, but that's in the documentary, and I don't want to spoil it.
Okay. Who's next, Johnny?
I have Jin next, and after him I have Sun, and I don't want to just lump them together because they're married, but I have the same opinion on both of them, which I'm kind of indifferent to them this season. Like, I just don't have a lot. Like, Jin's kind of scary with his Yakuza or whatever it is background. With Sun's dad, and
Yeah.
there is some
Mr.
weirdness
Pike.
there. Yeah, with
I
him
think,
saying his dad's dead, but his dad's not actually dead.
yeah. And his actual dad being like the nicest guy in the entire show, the only good dad on the show. But can I say this? So, like with the ending of season 1, and Jin and Sun sort of like butting heads throughout the majority of the season and just struggling. Their marriage is on the rocks. I think with the raft leaving, and you can tell they already miss each other when they're separated, that you want to root for them, and the absence makes the heart grow fonder. And you do tend to lump them together. They should be a pair. They should be a duo. And when they're not together, you're like just like hoping that they do come back together. You really want them to be the duo. You want them to be a couple that's like really, really in love and want to be together. And it's I think that's one of the things with season 1 with Jin and Sun. They aren't necessarily the most fun to be around, but once they're apart, you're like, okay, we need to get them back together, because you can just tell it's like for the better. Like they really do love each other. And the scene when the raft's taking off, and like they intercut between him and her, how like 100 yards away from each other. It's like between that and Sawyer, and then like Michael with Walt, but then like Vincent coming out to try to go reconnect with Walt. Like it's just showing how like every relationship on that raft is now severed from the main group, and you're like rooting for them. You're hoping they're okay. You're hoping they make it back, or they make it to safety and can come rescue everybody. So it's the raft storyline, I think, is really interesting. And the fact that Sawyer's on it, the one that doesn't get along with anybody, is now forced to get along with these 3 other people. So
who like, obviously, Michael had his shit with Jen, and like, Sawyer doesn't get along with anyone. So it's like 3, which that moment where Jen gives the watch to Michael on the raft, that was a nice moment as well. But it's interesting. These 3 that like don't really get along have to get along, and then Michael, has to even more so work in close proximity with his son, even more than it was before, because there's like 40 other people there. I like Sun and Jin in the first season. Obviously Sun a little more than Jin, because a little bit of an asshole, especially like, you're wearing a bikini, how dare you, like very
button
controlling.
Up your one button.
And like obviously we see that change as the seasons go, and even a little bit in this first season. So we don't get like too in depth with them, especially because both of their flashback episodes were a lot of the same stuff, just from opposite sides, as we've talked about before. So we don't get too much background knowledge on them. But
that'll change.
Yep, that'll change, as usual. All right, who's next, Johnny?
Boone, but he's dead, so.
I mean, we can still talk about him and his journey on.
I mean, that's literally what I
show.
wrote. Boone, he's dead. So
Oh.
he's dead. So well, I didn't put a lot of brain power into him because he's fucking dead.
Yeah, he started getting cooler when he was like, almost was like this like weird disciple of Locke, and you're like, oh, this is interesting. This dude
and
is
also
nuts.
challenging Locke as well.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, I think in terms of like someone's story and getting redemption in a sense, or or what's another way to say it? Just like being able to overcome something on the island that they couldn't off the island. And so his biggest thing was his attachment to Shannon, and he does get over it. And then he dies. Yeah. So he's done, and then he dies. So may or may not be a theme there.
Yeah.
But he did. He reached his full potential, full cycle. And then he went bye-bye. And then he was on Vampire Diaries, which I loved.
That's okay. We don't have a ton more to say about it because we talked a lot about some of the other ones. The next one then is, unless you guys had anything else to say about him, Ralph? No?
That's it.
See, he's dead, so fuck him.
He has pretty eyes.
Next is Shannon, and this is where I wrote, she's actually kind of cute with Saeed. When she drops the self-absorbed act, I think she'll be good.
Because it's definitely like an act, like a lot of times for attention, or like, she does these shitty things, but like she knows that they're shitty. Like it's not like she's
like Sawyer
completely aloof to them.
Yeah, Sawyer,
like she's not an airhead.
Yeah, Sawyer does the same kind of thing. Like he's an asshole because it brings him attention, and it's a similar thing. Like
and it's cool to see that, like, she helps with translating, and you start to see that she's not just like the dumb blonde stereotype, and especially with her relationship with Saeed and seeing that side of her. And even though she did call the cops on his bag in the airport, which I completely forgot about.
You were asking during the last stream, you wonder if he ever figured out, and I don't think he would have, because like, well, no, because he did talk to her.
Yeah, he asked her to watch it.
Yeah, you're right. So maybe he will remember.
Or I feel like Saeed is just chill enough, and unfortunately is used to that stuff where, it could be one of those things where he's like, I see her for how she is now, and I can move past that kind of thing. Does that make sense? Like, that was shitty, but like, I can see why she did that. Like, she obviously didn't do that to be like racist or anything. Like, she did that for the attention, to show her brother that she had that power.
Still not a good reason, but
no, definitely not a good reason. There's no excuse for it. There's no good reason, but no, I definitely, like, by the end of season 1, I'm like, okay, she's good. Like, I liked her rewatching it this time more than I think I have in previous rewatches. I think that was probably my own, like, previous biases coming into play there, maybe, or like thoughts about it, not so much biases. Yeah. Do you have anything about Shannon, Ralph?
She's fine.
Okay.
It's not a character I relate to, and it's she's playing a specific role, essentially a proto Karen kind of role. I can tell you that Maggie is super sweet. Everybody, I mean, that's going to be like the thing. Anytime I bring up the documentary, anytime I talk about any of these people that we've interviewed, they've all been absolutely charming and sweet and nice and really, really gracious with their time. And she was great. She was so cool. Very nice. Everyone gives hugs. I've gotten hugs from so many people from Lost. It's crazy. They're just all the sweetest people.
Oh, love to
So
hear
yeah,
that.
yeah,
I mean, actors are all theater geeks at heart, right? Like they're all
right.
For the most part,
The
until it
awkward-
goes to their head.
awkward drama kids from high school. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, there
didn't
is a
mention-
thing about the show as well. I think that adds a layer to it with all the actors. Anyways, sorry.
They were
go
all in
ahead, Ralph.
doing, like, essentially it was a summer camp. Like they were out away from civilization doing this thing with a
Yeah.
small group of
In
people,
Hawaii,
over the course of like 8
Living
months
the
or
life.
whatever. Yeah, yeah.
living the dream.
next is Michael, who like, whatever. He's such a. On the one hand, he's such a dick to his kid, but also I don't give a shit about his kid because I've said it multiple times during our Stranger Things coverage. Fuck them kids. Like they're just trouble.
Yeah.
And Walt is just
And clearly
trouble.
they're trouble on the island because they keep trying to get stolen, whether they're inside someone or outside of someone.
So my note for Michael is whatever, and my note for Walt is good riddance.
Yeah, what'd you think of that? The bearded man in the boat taking Walt and them shooting up things like
Yeah, did you
like-
have an idea why they were taking him?
No,
Or why
I
they
had
tried to
no-
take Claire?
As of the end of season 1, I had no idea. Like,
Did you feel any kind of hope in that moment when the sort of homing beacon started showing the boat coming back towards them? Were you like getting all amped up and excited?
Oh no, I knew they were fucked.
Yeah.
Because I said this raft, this sailing journey is cursed. I don't know.
Well,
if
you
ever
also
watched-
have 2020 hindsight because you know there's other seasons.
yeah.
Whereas
that's-
when we watched it, we were like,
Yeah.
oh shit, because I don't know if it had been renewed at that point. It probably was.
It probably was.
But at the same time, like it
Again,
could have
there
been off.
wasn't-
The next
Yeah.
season could have been off the island for all we knew.
There was
So-
no Twitter. There really wasn't any Twitter, and we weren't getting entertainment news the way we are today. So you kind of just got stuck with the story. You didn't
Yeah.
really get the inside scoop on casting rumors and
Yeah.
and
Or like behind the scenes
ratings
shots.
projections or
Yeah.
box office projections or media scores, and there's none of that stuff. You just kind of watched the thing, and
Yeah.
that was it. So when Walt got taken, it was a pretty big moment. It's like, holy shit, that's crazy.
I mean,
Yeah.
it definitely was because
And they blew up the raft.
They're abducting. Well,
Yeah.
they blew up the raft. Like that's all in caps.
Like so much happened at once.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And you're like,
it was
is Sun
wild.
and Jin never gonna get back together? Is Sawyer never gonna?
They all
You
just
know-
gonna die out there. What's going
Yeah,
on?
it was rad.
Yeah.
But as for them as characters, I wasn't like
Right.
neither of them.
Yeah,
really
I mean,
stuck with
obviously, there's the mystery of Walt's kind of powers that he
Yeah.
may have. But besides that, like, you know, there is the struggle of Michael, who hasn't had a relationship with him for most of his life, and then having to have a relationship with him and navigating that throughout the season. And, you know, I think they did a good job with that because I could not imagine that. And I think I talked about it before, like, couldn't imagine being in Walt's position either, like just having lost his mom and then
Yeah.
meeting this whole new
Brian.
person. Fucking Brian can go suck a big fat dick. Or no,
Yeah.
sea urchin. He can suck a
Yes.
sea urchin. That's what we figured out what to say.
Okay.
And then, yeah, having to fly halfway across the world with this dude. And
Yeah.
it's a lot on a young kid. And, you know, I think Walt was actually doing, like, pretty good for himself, like, and doing what kids would do. Like, I would have probably blown up the raft if I was like, I want to stay here. Like,
Oh yeah, when he burnt
set
the
it
first
on
raft.
fire.
Did you see that coming?
No, absolutely
Yeah.
not. I had no
Yeah,
idea.
Such a great.
that's part of the good riddance. Because what the fuck, dude? Come on.
But like he's a kid.
All
Like
that
he
work.
doesn't get
I
the
know.
like grand
Kids-
repercussions of things.
I know, and that's why I say fuck them
happening in the-
kids. Because kids
It's
are
happening in
morons.
Acolyte right now when the little girl burnt the thing and
Yeah.
said, "I'm going to kill you," and burnt the room. In episode 3,
May
it's
starting
like,
the fire.
yeah,
Well, we didn't actually see her start the fire. Just saying.
I think by the
Just
time this is released,
saying.
oh no, I was gonna say by the
No.
time this releases, we're gonna be real close to seeing what went down
Yeah.
this coming Wednesday,
2 days.
Tuesday. It's coming Tuesday.
Hmm.
All right.
Do you guys have anything else about? I really don't. I don't have. Much
I don't
else
think
to-
so. No.
Malcolm David Kelly, sweetheart, got to talk to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've loved following him on social media. Him, Josh, and Daniel. Like their friendship over the years has been really cute to follow, I will say.
Yeah, we've talked to
The raft
everybody on the
boys.
raft. We've talked to
Yeah.
the guy in the boat. The only person we haven't talked to is Harold Perrineau. I'm working on it so hard. I've been working on that so hard. Some things have come to light where something may be able to happen if I can just get the timing right. We'll see. We'll see. Because I like Harold Perrineau. You know, it's and he's one of the main people from the first show, and so I'm really hoping that we can get through to him. We've you know, talked to a lot of his friends, and we're really hoping. I know he had some tough times on the show itself with how his character was treated. And I'm hoping he understands we're not looking to dig up any of that dirt, and that we're just ready to kind of just chat about the show. You know?
Yeah.
He goes to
Indeed.
conventions. He talks to Lost fans. He likes Lost fans. So fingers crossed.
I mean,
for him.
yeah, like
I think he's
like I
great.
just said, his friendship with Josh and Daniel, and especially because they both have been interviewed, I hope that influences him a bit. We'll see. We shall see. Who we got left?
Vincent.
Vincent.
He's a good boy.
He good
Vincent Wise.
boy.
He's a good
The
boy.
best boy. He is
we
sweet
talked
boy.
to Jack Bender last week, who directed something like 34 episodes of Lost, including, with the exception of the pilot, every season premiere, every season finale. Where Jack Bender, he was essentially the person in charge of Hawaii. So Damon and Carlton were in Los Angeles doing their thing. Jack Bender was overseeing everything in Hawaii, would get scripts, and they would produce the scripts as written. Jack Bender talking about the raft scene and how it was his idea to get Vincent to come running out into the water chasing Walt through the waves. I can't spoil it, but it's a really good story. I'll just say it.
He's a lab and he loves water.
He said that wasn't scripted.
He's a lab and he loves water.
Yeah, it wasn't scripted.
He loves water. I
was a
knew it.
different-
I said that to Johnny. I was like, he runs out and I start crying. And then I tell myself, oh, well, he's a lab. Of course, he loves water.
No, they had to get the trainer on the raft so that the dog would run out into the water.
That makes sense.
But it wasn't scripted. It was just Jack Bender's idea. And he didn't let, I mean, again, if Taylor sees this, he's going to be mad at me because I'm talking about the movie, but he didn't let Damon and Carlton know that he put that in there until they saw it, and it was a big part of the whole emotional crux of that whole scene. The you want this hope, and you have these guys who are venturing out farther than they've gone before, and it's all the hope relies on them. They have the bottle with the notes in it, and it's this big to do. Even the dog is doesn't want them to be separated, and it's just the Vincent's the best.
He's the best, the goodest boy in all the land. Yeah.
Okay, well, so that's it for all the characters
Okay.
that I had. Unless there was anybody else that we needed to talk about that I didn't.
Ethan
put on the
Rom.
list, but,
Ethan Rom. Did you want to talk about
Yeah.
Ethan Rom? Dude, that motherfucker. Fuck that guy.
He's a scary dude.
Yeah,
He's
fucking
he's
terrifying.
Tom Cruise's cousin. Did you know that? He's Tom Cruise's cousin.
I could see that with the nose.
He's in Mission Impossible 2. But that fucking blank stare he gives
Oh god.
when
And just,
after
like-
when he's just standing there with Claire or Charlie
Yeah,
hanging,
his
and
like
he's
yeah.
presence. Ugh.
He's
Gives
like
me
a
the
he's like a
heebie-jeebies.
slasher movie monster in those scenes.
He really
Yeah,
is.
It's crazy.
He
Jack's
really
dad.
is.
I wanted to talk to John Terry real bad. He's the guy who played Jack's dad because he played a Felix Leiter in one of the James Bond movies, and I would like to talk to a Felix Leiter one of these days. He was in The Living Daylights as Felix Leiter. I like him. I can't think of any other characters, really big characters that aren't part of the main Crash stuff.
Yeah, I think we got them.
There's stuff like Liam
We
and
can-
Thomas and all the side story characters, but
Yeah.
Sarah,
Yeah.
Helen.
Mm-hmm.
Do we see Helen?
Well,
in
we
this
don't.
season?
No.
Not this season. But I mean, for the most part, I feel like Ethan's like the big one where it's like, holy shit, fuck this guy. Like,
Yeah.
he's the biggest thing we have as far as a villain goes.
Definitely. Rousseau's
Yeah.
kind of like a pseudo
Yeah.
villain. I guess Rousseau would be another one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we get to know more about her later on. I had put down to talk about themes, but I think
Arzt.
we kind of Arts himself.
Dan Robot, great dude. So much fun.
I think we covered a
buddy.
lot of them. I mean, was there anything else in terms of like season 1 kind of themes that anyone wants to talk about?
Rose would be the only other character that might.
Oh yeah.
Right, Rose.
She doesn't really do much in season
Not this season. She shows up in like the pilot and then
No.
like the last episode or something. She kind of gets sprinkled
She
in.
had the episode with Charlie where she was talking to him. Yeah.
I wonder if she'll ever find Bernard.
I don't know.
Johnny already knows.
I already know.
I
We'll
know.
talk about that.
That's a
in
great scene.
next week or next whatever.
3 weeks.
Yeah, we kind of talked about the themes interspersed within the characters, so we probably
Yeah.
go on to
Any
favorite
favorite episodes? More
Walkabout.
so for you, John.
Ralph. I was gonna say Walkabout.
Yeah, Walkabout's great.
Walkabout's kind of the one where you know if you're gonna be into the show or not. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, the pilot's amazing. You're like, wow, what a crazy pilot. Now, what's the show gonna be? And then you get like Tabula Rasa, which is fine. It kind of sets up the flashbacks and how the shows are structured. But then when you get to Walkabout, you're like, okay, it's the same formula. But wait, holy shit, what's this now?
Yeah,
This guy.
I think with John's reveal that really shows you that this island is different, and we'll get back to that in a second. With how they start to realize that the island is
Numbers.
very different.
Numbers is a favorite episode of mine because of Hurley.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking
Yeah,
through.
definitely.
The Moth is good too.
Yeah.
Let's see. All the best
It's-
cowboys have
it's not-
daddy issues.
It's not so much particular. I can tell you, the only episode that I really, really, really feel strongly about is, whatever the case may be, was a goddamn giant waste of time, and it was super fucking dumb.
Yeah.
That was so bad. I hated that. Like, actively hate that episode. It's so dumb.
Yeah. Deus Ex Machina was really good too. Also,
Yeah,
Locke,
I think
'cause of
I think what
course.
happened. Like, here's the thing: we're dealing with what 24 episodes.
Yeah, this is old
Season
school
25,
TV.
25 this season.
Yeah, so it's a little, you can't have all winners. There's
No.
25 James
Yeah.
Bond movies, and there's definitely some stinkers in there, but I still enjoy them. There's usually something in there where you're like, okay, I get it. It's like there's some information in there that you kind of want to know about like the case of guns just becomes a thing, later, which is kind of nice. But yeah, I can see at the same time it's kind of annoying. Like Jack's like really bent out of shape, and Sawyer's bent out of shape. Everyone's bent out of shape.
Yeah.
So,
it kind of works into like I was reading a discussion about Star Trek Strange New Worlds and people wishing there were more episodes per season, but then remembering that, like, as long as they're putting their best into those 10 episodes or whatnot.
Yeah.
Because, like, there's a lot of great episodes of Star Trek TOS and Next Generation and Voyager and DS9. There's a lot of stinkers. There's just as many episodes that are like meh to downright awful as there are good ones, if not more. So, but like Strange New Worlds, in my opinion, only has 1 or 2 each season that have been just kind of okay, that was fine for me.
Yeah, the musical one.
I like the musical one.
I hate musicals, and I don't like that.
So does Kayla, but she really liked that episode.
But I don't. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's just like I don't like that.
I
gimmick.
hate that I liked it.
Yeah, I heard it was really good. I heard it was really good.
It was good. Like I'm still like I didn't get into it like I'm sure a lot of other people did. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm like, I know you also love music, Ralph. Like, I love music. Like, music is my life. But something about musicals, it's like you're singing out a movie. Just act it out. Why do we gotta sing?
Yeah.
It's confusing to my brain. It's probably the neurospicy part of my brain that just like can't scissor them together. But it was a good episode. It was a good episode.
All
Okay.
right.
Anyways.
But yeah, so for that to be the only episode this season out of 25 where I'm like, this is fucking awful.
And it's not that it
wish I
was
had
like-
that hour
It's
back.
pretty early on too, right?
It's episode 12.
It was 12, yeah.
Oh, so you're like halfway.
So the first half, yeah. It's not the worst.
No, it absolutely is. Like, I am not exaggerating when I say it was a giant waste of time and it was super dumb. In my opinion, if you disagree, fine. But, like...
Is it worse than a certain tattoo episode in season 3?
Yes, it's the single worst episode of this.
Wow.
Nobody's ever said that episode when we ask about like least favorite.
Yeah, interesting.
Whatever the case may
Anyways.
be, is the single worst episode of this show that I have watched so far. Let me pull up my notes for
And Johnny's seen the finale.
season. Yeah,
He didn't know what
3
was
so
going on,
far.
but
But I don't remember having as visceral a negative reaction to an episode as I had to.
is it because you hate Sawyer?
No, you know
it's
what it is?
hate.
It's because
It's 'cause he
it's
hates
because
hate.
the episode is pointless. At the beginning of the episode, they fish the case out of the lake, and Sawyer's like, "Oh, you really want this? Here, take it." And she says, "No, I don't want it," and she leaves. And then she wants the fucking case. She should have just taken it. And there's no point. Like, it's
Yeah.
Great.
it's the single worst episode of this show that I've seen so far.
It's great.
Because she should have, like, he offered to give it to her. No catch, no,
That's what they
like,
said.
Gotcha. Like, here, if you want it, just take it. You clearly want it. And she said, no, I don't want it. But then
Clearly
she
want
wanted it. She, like, just fucking take the case.
I like
So-
that you're mad about it because, like, seriously, like, Lost. Like, imagine if you had to wait a week to watch the next episode.
Johnny
you have a
would lose
podcast
his
like-
shit.
Yeah, that's the thing is when you get to binge it, you're like, okay, fuck that. let me watch that
Moving
away with
on.
the next one.
Yeah.
You watch Stranger in a Strange Land. If you don't like it, you jump right into, Trisha Tanaka is dead,
next.
which is one of the most joyous episodes ever. So it's one of those things where it's like at least you get to binge it. I'm glad you didn't watch this on a weekly basis, because I can't imagine you being this mad for a full week.
Like,
Yeah.
so this was also the episode where I brought up the screenshots of the inconsistency in the sweat on the shirt and the hair.
Yes,
So
you
that bothered me
did.
too.
LOL.
The island works in mysterious ways.
Yes, it
We'll
does.
talk about that.
The sweat.
These are literally my notes. Like, Storm Surge, if she wants the case so badly, why didn't she just take it when she had the chance? This is fucking stupid. What the fuck, Saeed? This is still really dumb. Are Boone and Shannon really siblings? This episode was a giant waste of time and was super
not.
dumb. Those were my notes.
Not by blood. They're not siblings by blood.
Yeah, we figured that out, but I was starting to see that
Yeah.
during this. But yeah, like, the whole episode, I've said my piece. It's dumb. I will never watch that
I love
episode
it. It makes me happy, though. It makes me happy that you're so passionate about the show. You know what I mean? It's fine.
Considering
It's okay.
he binged all first 4 seasons real fast, and he texts
did.
me, he's like, so I went through 4 seasons, and I'm like, okay. Like, that's great. Like, exactly.
Yeah.
I had the same reaction, Ralph. I'm like, amazing. I'm glad you love it, because clearly if you didn't like, you wouldn't binge all 4.
Right.
He's like, I had to stop.
But
myself.
I feel like an episode that doesn't connect with you. Like, there's episodes that don't connect with me. There's one in the future called Further Instructions that I just can't stand. I've watched it once.
Oh,
I think it's completely
really?
pointless. And it's one of those things where I'm just like, it's probably good to know that Lost isn't perfect. It's really good to be like, you know what? It's still just a TV show, and TV shows are hard to make, especially when you're doing a show
And they're made by
unlike any other
humans
show.
who aren't perfect.
There's every single episode of Lost was shot on film, on 35 millimeter film.
Yeah.
Like, it's not it's a crazy weird, like, this show is a miracle that it got made. And I think it's you need a reminder every once in a while, like, oh, okay, it's not perfect, it can fuck up, and I'm okay with it. But clearly
That's a great
that transitions well.
yeah, great segue into what I wanted to talk about next, which was some production stuff.
Okay, cool.
I don't know if you caught it during one of the streams, but the amount of fucking shaky cam in this show, I really could do.
I did
without.
see that.
I did see that. It's one of the few things that is really a tell of the time that this show was
2004. Yeah.
That's definitely a sign of the times. That, and everybody has
Because I was telling Johnny, I don't even recognize it. Like, it doesn't faze me at all, because I'm just so used to it because of how many times I've fucking seen this show.
Yeah.
It was very noticeable for me when I first started watching that there was.
I wonder if it chills
an
out.
excessive amount of shaky cam.
I wonder if it chills out as it
after the
goes.
first season, because I don't
Yeah, we'll
remember.
have to see how it goes.
So
budget
essentially what
went up.
happened was is JJ set a template. This is how JJ, did the pilot, and then Larry Fong, who was the DP on the pilot, went on to do like 8 other episodes or something. So they wanted to make sure it had a specific look, and so they were following JJ. And it's well known from Lost fans, but in the pilot episode, when Charlie, Kate, and Jack are running away from what we find out later is a smoke monster, when they're running away from the nose section of the plane, the camera's pointed up, it's zoomed in, and they're running in place, but they shake the camera around, it looks like they're actually running. So I feel like that sort of concept of filmmaking got moved into other aspects of the show. And I think like Born Identity was coming out around this time and stuff like that. So I think that was a big influence. Like, that's how film and movies looked. They wanted to make this look cinematic. And I think because that's what they were doing in like Taken. Well, I guess Taken hadn't come out yet. Maggie Grace is in that. Oh,
Born Identity was 2002. Supremacy was 2004. Yeah, and that's definitely the style of those movies, is shaky cam.
So that's how action was done then, whatever. Funny story, Maggie Grace is in Taken. She's the titular girl who was taken in that movie. The day we did her interview, I asked her, I said, "Hey, Maggie," I'm like, "do you do Wordle?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, but I haven't done it today yet." I'm like, "Oh, okay. I don't want to spoil it for you, but it's has something to do with you." And she says, "Is it lost?" "Oh wait, that's only 4 letters." I said, "No." She's like, "Oh my God, is it taken?" And I'm like, "Yes. Today's Wordle."
Oh my God.
The day we're interviewing
Wait,
Maggie
that's
Grace,
amazing.
the Wordle was taken.
The
And
island works in mysterious ways.
it's really weird. She's like, "Oh no way." And I'm like, she's like, "I'll wait for my husband to send me a text that he did Wordle."
That's amazing.
But yeah, it was pretty
That's
crazy.
really cool.
Again, a sweetheart. All of them. Every single person
Oh yeah.
is a sweetheart. Sorry if I'm making too much noise.
No,
I
you're
get real
fine.
fidgety. And I wanted
I
to
do too.
leave my pets.
That's why I'm moving in this chair. I can't sit still.
The title is interesting to me because it's so short. The title card, like it's not a
Lost.
yeah, and it just zooms into really early 2000s not aliased graphic.
Yeah, so I think JJ made that graphic on his computer, and you can see where it warbles and doesn't look right. Like the definition is really poor, and they
There's no
never fixed it.
anti-aliasing. It's very jagged. Like it's
Love that.
very janky.
Love that they
CG.
never fixed it.
Yeah,
I think they never fixed it. All 6 seasons, spoilers. The finale of Lost has that same graphic, and you always
Amazing.
notice that where it's like
Yeah.
like
Like
flutters
dithering
instead.
and-
It's not a hard edge. Yeah.
not hard.
We've seen the
Mhm.
alternate opening, and it's better with what they went with.
Okay.
there's an interesting. And then
Serialization.
the serialization, like we talked about this a little bit when we had you and Taylor on to talk about the doc. Like
Yeah.
there were shows that were doing more serialized, like Farscape on the Sci-Fi Channel, but that was it. They were on lower viewed cable networks. This was like
ABC.
a big, like broadcast television show that was
Yeah.
serialized like this, and there were not, aside from probably soap operas, at least primetime stuff, there wasn't really a lot of
Yeah.
shows that were doing that.
When did Sopranos come out?
So what helped? It was before. But I think what helped, which
Yeah, 99
kind of
is when Soprano, but that's HBO too. That doesn't.
Yeah.
what pushed us forward towards binging and all of this stuff is around the time season 1 or season 2 of Lost started. iTunes started doing video and started selling TV
Yep.
shows for $2 an episode.
I
And
made
so
a whole
people-
PowerPoint to have my parents get me the iPod video just to download Lost episodes. Because
Yeah.
Lost was like their big show that was like put on there. It's like you
It
can
was
watch
that and
it
The
on your
Office, I
thing.
think, were the 2.
Yeah.
So
Something like that.
so like that was one of those things where if people started hearing about this hit show but watched like what Taylor did and was watched his first episode of Lost, he's like, "Oh, I'm going to check out the show everybody loves." It was the Walt episode special where he's like, "I don't know what the fuck's going on. There's a kid
Yeah.
and he can talk to birds.
That's a
and
weird
there's a
one
mean
to
dad." And so
start
he's
on.
like, "Fuck this show." But if you can order it on iTunes and get caught up, you're like right in it. So
And they
it
have
was,
like season passes. I think they still do that actually.
yeah.
I definitely did that.
Yeah.
Whole PowerPoint.
And I love the serialized nature of it. Johnny, you've been going through Green Lantern, the animated series, which is also serialized as a show I love. Maybe we'll talk about it on Lanterns Live, my podcast about Green Lantern.
I think we should.
Who have that Kyle Rayner statue. He is the Green Lantern that appears in the show
You're
Lost.
a Green Lantern fan? What?
Yeah. So this is the dude that shows up in.
Oh no, I got him started.
Have I already done this? Have I already done this on the podcast?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever shown anybody.
Amazing.
I usually don't have like short enough sleeves to like be confident showing my big meaty arms.
Everyone.
But so if anybody asks if I have a Lost tattoo, I said I kind of
Oh,
do.
that hurt my
because this symbol is on Lost, where Walt's comic book he reads about the polar bear.
Yep. My symbol is everywhere. But it's unique because it's Captain America and the Lost had a baby. Anyways.
Is it the star? Is it the star in the? I didn't see it.
The star in the middle.
In the Dharma.
So it makes it look like his shield.
Well, it also kind of looks like something that Johnny will see in season 5, because there is a Dharma logo with a star on it, and I don't want to get into it.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It has to do with
Mine's
that couple
unique
we were
because I
talking
literally designed it myself.
Yeah.
I literally did it on my phone. I'm like, okay, I want the star and I want the Dharma logo. Okay. Anyways, kind of talked about this before with how like early on people knew that there was something up with the island, and between the polar bear and what turns out to be the smoke monster, Locke's not being paralyzed anymore, lots of things one after the other. I forgot how, rewatching it this time, I forgot like how early people started to, especially like Saeed, like he really brings it up. Like he's like, there's something going up with, like, obviously Locke brings it up, but like Saeed is like, this is a normal island. Like we all should have died in the crash. Like there's no reason so many of us survived with like very minor injuries.
And he was in a wheelchair and now he can walk. Like that's the big one. That's like, how does that work?
Yeah. And it's I forgot like how early on it was talked about, because like obviously the rest of the seasons it's very much talked about, this magical island, which apparently is also 2 islands.
There's a little tiny,
Yeah. It's a little confusing. I always forget about that too. But yeah, that was something that when I rewatched it this time, I was like, oh yeah, it's like pretty early on in season 1 that people are starting to figure it out. I don't know, in my mind I thought it was like more towards the end of season 1 or like season 2, because it's been a minute since I rewatched it. But yeah, people, especially I think Saeed's comment the most stood out to me, with just the fact that like who's someone is very like logical, and he's like, we should have all died, like we should not have survived that, just coming from that stance alone. And he's like, there's something up with this island. So yeah, I don't know, that was just something I wanted to comment on for season 1 overall. I don't know if anyone has any thoughts about that.
I mean, my thing with in the episode where Sun, it's the second to last. It's episode 24 where Sun's like, "Are we being punished?" My theory at this point is, yes, you're all being punished for being horrible people. They all, like, my theory is they all died in a crash and they're in like purgatory or something. Like they're all dead already. None of these people are alive.
Yeah, that's a theory that a lot of people thought at the time. I could spoil it for you. It's not. But Hurley's good. Hurley's a good dude.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's what we were
But
talking about
Hurley's
before when Johnny mentioned that.
cursed.
Like Claire wasn't that bad, at least from first season perspective. I can't remember her other flashbacks.
Well,
they're just what's the
like for the
collateral
most
damage
part, yeah. And like there is still like these journeys they have to go through. I think Claire is definitely like, like being a mother and other stuff. So there still are reasons why they're on the island, even if they weren't shitty people before.
And Ralph, you said to spoil it for me. It's not like there is stuff in later seasons that completely tears that apart. Like, but as of the end of season 1. That's what I was thinking. But there's stuff that comes in the
Yeah.
later seasons I've seen that
Yeah.
tears it apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was one of the big theories.
Yeah. I
And
think
then
that was
a lot of
mostly.
people,
Yeah, and I think people mostly thought that during or after season 2. I don't know if a lot of people realized that in season 1. So I'm kind of shocked that you came to that after season 1.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it was
Good for you, Johnny.
Um,
Even though it's not right, but
even though it's not right. Let me see.
it makes sense. It makes sense because it's so
Yeah.
weird, and this plane crash is gnarly, and it's like, okay, well,
yeah. And they're all working through stuff.
it's easy to jump to faith. It really is.
Yeah.
One of the somewhat related but not is one of the thoughts I had. I talked about this with Kayla the last stream. Was like, one of the things I wrote is like, is this just The Walking Dead without zombies? Because I was looking at
Yeah.
parallels of things like, and Walking Dead the show didn't come out till like 2010 when Lost ended, but Walking Dead the comic came out 2002. Or like right before this show, so I didn't know if there might be, because I got a lot of the factions forming within the survivors and whatnot reminded me a lot of like stuff that was going on.
There's
in the Walking Dead.
definitely
I
a
feel
lot of
like
similarities there.
I feel like both the Walking Dead comic and Lost kind of have its roots in Stephen King. A bunch of different people brought together during this event with different backgrounds. I don't know if you've seen The Mist, who Frank Darabont directed. The Mist. He also did the first season of Walking Dead. The Mist is a Stephen King book, and if you watch that, it's like Lost. You have Andre
Yeah,
Brower, who's like, you have like a religious nut, and you have like Andre Brower, who's very focused on like things like in reality, like this, and Thomas Jane, who's just kind of in the middle. So I feel like, it's kind of it feels like both are like very Stephen King-esque, like The Stand or Under the Dome, where it's like, oh, here are these people are stuck in this place and they all have different ideals on how things should go.
Yeah. It's like the perfect like social experiment, especially like I think we talked about it before, but like, it was fairly diverse of a show. Obviously, it's still mostly white cast. But especially at the time, and like I just mentioned before, like having Saeed as one of the main characters, and Sun and Jin and Michael and Walt, it still was kind of a big deal of its time. Like having this, like also having just like a larger cast to focus on, where you're focusing on different people each episode with their flashbacks and what's going on the island as well. But it was very, very unique for its time. I was going somewhere else with it, but I forgot.
Yeah, like episodes like Lost in Translation, I believe, or House of the Rising Sun, where the majority of the episodes spoken in Korean with subtitles. That didn't happen on Network TV. I don't know if it even does anymore. But they were trying. I think at the time it was groundbreaking. I think they could have done better. They could have done better with Michael and his character, not just being the deadbeat black father. Hurley being, Latino and being kind of depicted as lazy sometimes. There are certain things in there where it's just like, you were there, you were close. But
they do some good stuff with that though. Like there is a lot of like fat phobia for sure, but at the same time, like you also see like the asshole lady working at the airport that's like, do you have to, like, we're gonna have to put you on a scale, sir? And I'm just like, fuck you. So like that's something that like everyone in the audience can be like, fuck you about. And I think that's something that like wasn't seen as much. It was like the fat jokes were made
Yeah.
a lot of the time, which like obviously there are, and most of them are from Sawyer. But at the same time, like they still have some good stuff where like you can see that this lady is a bitch and like you shouldn't do this to people. You know what I mean? Like there's still like those good instances in there, but yes, it can always be better for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, without Lost, who knows how long it would have taken to get a cast like this, together.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, and thinking of like big shows like The Sopranos, not very diverse.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones, not very diverse. Even the new Game of Thrones, still not super diverse. They tried a little bit. It's definitely more so, but like still could be better.
They could have done better, but does look like they made an effort to make it, an international cast somewhat.
Which is why I love, is why I loved it. And shows like Sense8 on Netflix, that cast is super diverse.
Is that the Wachowskis did that?
I don't know. Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ended too soon. But yeah. Anyways. All right, Johnny, what do you think the smoke monster was?
No fucking clue.
When you saw the smoke, like what were your thoughts?
It's hard because I already knew about like the smoke monster being a thing, so it was pretty much like, oh, that's the fucking smoke monster.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah. So at Comic-Con between season 1 and season 2 of Lost, I went to Ballroom 20 and I watched the Lost panel. And Damon and Carlton both said, and they squashed my theory, which was it's nanobots. And they said it wasn't nanobots. And I remember that, and it crushed me. And I'm like, great, then what is it? It wasn't until working on the documentary that I have a new theory on what the smoke monster is. And I'm very, 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 very excited. The others refer to it as a security system, but Danielle does. Rousseau,
yeah, which I totally forgot she mentions it in the first season.
Yeah, I can't wait for the movie to come out because I think Taylor and I plan on doing a big fat ass podcast where it's like, okay, so here's this information that you just got from our documentary. We've been thinking about it for a year now, and this is what we've come up with. And I'm excited about that. But I do remember David and Carlton saying it's not nanobots.
Show hangout thing.
Yeah.
So
it was.
The things that I noticed about it is one of the things I wrote. Oh, so the smoke monster is the kaiju security system that fucks with the trees. I said, what the fuck? It sounds like a T-Rex mixed with a train and a winch. I also noticed, and we talked about this a little bit, the fucking rain. I don't know if the rain looks manufactured because it has to be manufactured for television, or if it looks manufactured because it's supposed to look manufactured and it has something to do with the smoke monster. Because it seems to rain at very conspicuous points. It just suddenly, it's just a fucking downpour. And then when the obstacle is overcome, the rain goes away. That's
also how Hawaii is too. Ironically, it'll just rain at random times.
Yeah. So I think that's one of the things with the show is that they're like, we gotta it's either got to be raining or it's got to be not raining. But it starts and stops in the middle of scenes. Like, how do we fucking deal with this? And I think they set it up in a way where you have that classic gif of John Locke looking up and then the rain starts falling on him at that specific time. That has to be manufactured. But I think it's a way for them to say, this island's crazy. It's just going to rain whenever. So isn't that crazy? That's crazy that the island rains whenever, so that they can just shoot when it decides to rain. I think that's what the deal is. In the story, there is some weird. I mean, god dang, dude, you got to watch season 5. There's some. The island has some. The island has some bizarre properties. Maybe light doesn't hit it right. Maybe there's some weird things. You'll find that it's like there's something up. There's something up with the island that's just sort of out of sorts. So that rain could be part of it. I don't know if the rain is manufactured in story, but I think there's definitely weird weather conditions around the island for sure.
Yeah, it seems like it sometimes because it starts raining right before the monster shows up, and then the monster leaves and it stops raining. Like,
Yep.
it seems to coincide, at least in the first season.
Yeah. I mean, not always, because when they're running with the dynamite.
You did not do anything close to a thumbs up, and it did the thumbs up.
Did it?
It's done that for me before, too.
I have a little spider on my hand. I'm trying to get it to go somewhere else. Don't be on me.
Oh God, I've been constantly killing spiders right and left here.
I don't like killing spiders. They don't. They have.
When they're this big,
They have. You get them outside. Listen, they didn't ask for this life. They got a bum rap when it comes to being on this planet. And I want them to go be happy.
I hate them, but I'll kill them. I'm not scared of them, especially because I killed a tarantula in college. So
Oof.
There was a tarantula on the side of our building, and I went to school in the Bay Area. This was a tarantula in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
It was a small one, but it was still a tarantula. And I literally took this like long ass pipe and I murdered it. It was great.
Oh. R.I.P. Spider.
Scary.
Speaking of spiders, the hatch.
Okay.
The next question that Kayla has is, what's in the hatch?
What is in the hatch, Johnny?
I wrote, so the things that I wrote were some kind of bunker, some kind of underground complex. Maybe they're storing nuclear waste. I said, this is part where I'm convinced they're all dead and this is purgatory. So it could be fucking anything. Who knows? If not, I'm like some sort of prepper shelter, maybe. Maybe this was like a hideaway for like the end of the world. So it's some kind of like, preppers underground kind of thing. So we'll find out.
Could see that.
You saw that it said quarantine,
I mean,
in the first season? So that's kind of fucked up.
That's what made me think like nuclear waste, maybe biological like weaponry.
It's on the inside.
Yeah.
It's on the inside that counts.
Yeah.
So the outside.
So
I didn't think about that. So the shelter, the inside the hatch is safe, but outside the hatch is the quarantine.
Yeah. So we waited about 6 or 7 months before we found out what was in the hatch, and
I found out immediately.
Fuck you.
Dude, it sucked. It sucked. I remember the question being brought up at that Comic-Con. Do we find out what's in the hatch in the first episode? Can you please tell us? And Damon and Carlton said, "You'll know. You'll know by the first episode." I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Because you really strung us along with this shit, with the trebuchet and the booms and it's like, fucking come on.
Yep.
So yeah, it was a long wait. It was a long wait.
What if they decided, like, what if they looked down and it was just like nothing, and then they're like, okay, let's move on.
Yeah.
I was half expecting it to potentially lead to nowhere, like to just
that would be interesting.
Just be a shaft with no
shaft,
like a bottomless pit.
No, there's a bottom. It's just nothing at the bottom.
It's just nothing in there.
Like it's just a shaft with no,
like a well.
Yeah.
Well of
but
nothing.
A dry well. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, we sort of have that. We sort of have that with Strange New Worlds right now because the last episode of the last season of Strange New Worlds ended with Pike staring at the view screen and all the Gorn attacking and not knowing what to do. And we're like,
that's the cliffhanger I was thinking.
Is Pike gonna die?
No.
Or is he gonna get in the wheelchair? Does boy get in the wheelchair? Is this?
No, I mean, eventually. Not in the show.
We were talking about that because there's some characters we know that have plot armor and some don't.
Yeah.
Speaking of predicting, what were your predictions for season 2? at the time, Johnny, before you immediately started season 2. Fucker.
All completely wrong. Like I was sort of right with the hatch being an underground complex,
Yeah.
but I didn't really have a lot of general predictions about what.
You didn't have a whole summer to come up with it. You could just, you're just
see,
like,
that's the thing too. Yeah, and
I'll
that's part of what I was talking about. Like the experience of this show binging being different, especially now, because you don't have that shared experience of.
yeah,
And even like you were saying, it was different at the time because you didn't have like the YouTube videos and comments on YouTube videos, Reddit, like
Yeah.
you
The
you
breakdown
have
video.
to find the message
podcast-
board.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the podcast community
Or
show,
podcast,
you might be able to get on Usenet. There was probably a BBS for it if you were going.
All the
that,
Lost
or
podcasts
maybe
started.
a live journal group.
Yeah, all the Lost podcasts started in season 2. Transmission, Jay and Jack, Make Your Own Kind of Music with Scott and Steve, like all of those shows started with season 2, and it's because
Even
it's
the
like,
official one, right? I
the
think
official one started like
was-
late season 2 or season 3.
Yeah, it like wasn't season 1. I remember that.
Yeah, that'll be explored.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I had all the time in the world, you could probably. It would be interesting to watch the episode, and then listen to the
Wait a
podcast
week.
that somebody did about the episode. Wait a week, and then,
Well, I mean, you're past season 3, but
years
season
later.
3 is when the Dharmalar started, and you can listen to my show. All the episodes are still available, and I'm pretty sure. I think we were around in season 5. I'm pretty sure we were. But you want to check it out? It's one of my favorite things I've done. It's that
Mm.
the
it'd
Dharmalar show.
it'd be interesting to go back and see.
Yeah,
Baby
you'll hear our theories, and I've gone back and I've listened to some, and man, we said some things that I probably wouldn't say today. Things that are like insensitive.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Eh.
it's like ew.
Hey,
Sawyer
you've
has his shirt
learned-
off. Gross. Boys are icky because I'm a man. Probably stuff
We've
like
all
that.
learned and grown and changed.
Yes.
Yes,
Ah.
and that's the true meaning of Lost as well. Is that, like you said, everybody who
say
crash
life.
landed, and everybody that landed on that island's a piece of shit. And so it's like how can these characters be redeemed throughout the show? And so that I feel like that's also a theme that happens in real life, and a theme that we have to explore in our documentary, because certain things came to light on that Los Angeles side that we discuss. And again, this is stuff that happened 20 years ago, and I feel like people are able to change, and we should give them the benefit of the doubt, especially on a long timeline like that.
Yeah.
I did stupid shit 20 years ago.
Same. I was
Yeah.
11. Of course, I did stupid shit. I was a child.
Yeah, I was 27. I was married. Me and Stevie got married about five months before Lost started.
And then it was all downhill from there.
Yeah, 5 months.
Alrighty. Any final thoughts before we geek the F out of here about season 1?
Nope.
It's good, clearly, because I already watched up through the end of season
3
4.
more seasons.
I was definitely hooked.
Definitely hooked. All right. Well, Ralph, thank you again for joining us. Love
Yeah, it
having
was
you
fun.
here. You want to tell the people where they can find you, what you have going on? You have a whole new show,
Jesus. Yeah, I
too.
shouldn't. I'm too busy to have another show. But
you did.
one of my other shows is taking a back seat while I do this. At CasinoSkunk, everything, everywhere. So go to CasinoSkunk.com and you can find all of my shows in one place, and you can find out more about the doc there as well.
Awesome. If you want to follow us, you can follow us at GTFO channel on Instagram. That's all the only place where we post. So Trek Retrek every Thursday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern. And yeah, we'll be here every Friday through the end of September, talking about Lost. Maybe we'll be going through December. Who knows? Right now,
Well,
it's through the end of September.
Stranger Things in
I know.
October, then.
Johnny, I'm making a joke. Sheesh.
I know.
Yes, so every Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 Eastern. We'll be talking about Lost, so come get lost with us. And until next time, peace and long life.
That's the wrong show.
I know! I have to say it, though. Because I don't know what else to say. Bye! Or else I'm just awkwardly doing that.
Bye.
Yeah, we'll do this. Johnny will be the odd one out.
Yeah, I can't.